Hi everyone, this is Arlene Carter. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Nevada, and I have a card tutorial for you today using the stamp set called Celebrate Sunflowers. I decided I was just going to go through the front of the Stampin' Up! Catalog and just start working my way back, starting with the first stamp set that I own, and that happens to be Celebrate Sunflowers. So I have a card for you to show you on this video today to share with you, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So again, using Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set, I'm also using the coordinating dies that go with it, and this is called Sunflowers dies. They come in a bundle in the catalog, the current catalog. I'm also going to be using some of the die, just one from the Tasteful Labels dies. It is this one right here. It makes this fun little banner, and it's stitched on the inside and out. So this is a fun little stamp set or a die to use. I'll be using that as well. And then I've also got some layering circles dies. I'm using one of the circles, and then I also have a scallop circle that I'll be using too as well. So let me show you the components of the card. The first thing that I'm starting out with is the card base, and this is just a piece of Whisper White that's 8.5 by 11, and then I cut it lengthwise, so it's down in half. So the measurements here are 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches, and then you can see that I scored it down the middle. So that makes our card base right here. I also have a piece of Designer Series paper, and this is from the Flowers for Every Season 6x6 paper pad. It's it's Designer Series paper. We called it paper pad back in the day, right? Do you remember? How many of you still remember that, where it was glued on one side and we had to pull it out, and sometimes it ripped, and sometimes you had that little glue left over. So this is nice. It's a 6x6 pad, but there's no glue that you have to worry about. So I cut that just to layer directly onto my card base right here. And then I also cut another piece of Designer Series paper, and I'm using this pattern right here, and then just a little bit larger rectangle here just to mat it with of Misty Moonlight. Okay, and again, I'll have all the dimensions for this over on my blog, so you can check that out to get the measurements for this card. And remember that scallop circle that I told you I used, the scallop circle right here, to get that tape off. I went ahead and cut one of those out with using my cutting machine in Just Jade. This is one of the newer in colors. And the kind of a banner right here in Just Jade as well too. Okay. Now we have to cut. I'm going to do a couple of stamping here and die cut out this circle as well. The first thing that I want to do is go ahead and stamp up this really pretty sunflower, very detailed. It's the smaller sunflower in this set, and I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it onto my Whisper White cardstock, and you can see the detail that it gives. It's just beautiful, and that would go great just even black and white, but we are going to color it here in just a minute. So I'm using the Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends, and just using the brush side, I'm taking the small, or the Daffodil Delight in the dark, and I just like to kind of, in those leaves that are in the background, maybe use a little bit more of this dark color just to give it some shadow effect, because we know those leaves in the background don't get as much light if you're looking at it, you know, say in natural light like this. So a little bit more like that. And then take the lighter color and then with the ivory, so I'm just using what I have on my Stampin' Blends. So because I don't have every single color, I picked ivory. That's really as close to brown as I have for the middle of the sunflower, but I thought this worked well. So I'm just gonna color that middle in. Okay, and then with this particular card, this green right here is the Just Jade, because they match with the in colors. And I don't happen to have Stampin' Blends that are in Just Jade, but I do have an ink pad. And so I'm just going to get my ink from the ink pad. You can use an ink refill too as well. But if you don't have that, but you do have the ink pad, this is what you can do. So you just really got to push down on the top of the pad, the ink holder. And then when you open it, you see that your ink is on the top of the lid right here. And then just take some, like a watercolor brush, or you can just even use a regular paintbrush too if you want to. And this one just has the water in the little well right here. We have a newer version in the new catalog, so a little bit different tips too as well. And I like to make sure, sometimes it's a little wet right here, so I just like to kind of wipe it off on a paper towel. Okay, but you're grabbing the ink up and then just going and just the same thing, you're just coloring in, but you'll see you get the exact color that you want. This is just another option that you can use. Okay. And another tip I like to use is, sometimes this does tend to the water does tend to flow quite freely into the brush tip. You can see that on my finger, it's pretty wet. So again, I would just keep wiping it, and even sometimes store it upright for a while. That can help it too as well. Okay, and just place the cap back on. Then we're going to set it upright with the brush up. Now, when you use alcohol markers, you always want to work with something on the bottom of the surface, so to help cover up the surface. The reason why is sometimes those alcohol markers can bleed through, and you can see that on the sunflower. And if you're using more of like a watercolor brush, this will take a little bit more time. So if I were not on camera, I would wait a little bit for this to dry completely. But since I'm making a video for you, I'm going to go ahead and place my die and position it so it's going to cut this sunflower out. And I might even put a little piece of washi tape just to make sure that I hold it nice and straight there. In fact, I'll borrow one that's on the circle really quickly here. Okay. All right, I will go cut this out. Okay, we've got this cut out. So it's colored in, stamped, colored in, and cut out with our die. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this using the Memento black ink. Okay, just stamp that so you have plenty of room all around on your cardstock, so you have enough to cut around it. And then I'm going to just position my circle. And then I also know that I'm going to be using this sunflower right here. And it's going to be right around, that looks good, like that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to cut out my circle, and I'm also going to be cutting out the sunflower because I don't want any extra. This excess is going to be cut out at the same time I'm cutting my circle out as well. So once I have it just in place, you might even want to put another piece of washi tape in there. Just bring that carefully up to your cutting machine and cut the circle along with the sunflower die. Cut that out too. All right, so once I've ran it through my cutting machine, lift that tape off. And then the washi tape, what I like to do sometimes, I'll just kind of tap it with my finger on the sticky side part. I've had it happen before where the washi tape is strong enough to where it lifts off some of that paper and it kind of ruins your project. So I like to just do that. So I just remove some of the tackiness in there. But now you can see what this did is it cut both layers there, so that knowing that we have that part of the sunflower that I want, and it's going to be that perfect circle that's going to fit inside the circle right here. Okay, so now let's take our scallop circle that I've already die cut out, and let's attach the white circle that we've stamped on. Okay, center that on, and then with some Stampin' Dimensionals, I'm going to attach our sunflower. Okay. And always know that you have all this excess. Remember this excess, don't throw that away. You can always just trim that with scissors and use the whole sheet, because it's the same product. It's just not cut in these nice little convenient shapes. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go around there. Okay, so you see how it's popped up? You can still see that. It is popped up just a little bit. Okay. Cute. And now I think we are about ready to put our card together. All right, so we have our card base right here. And let's go ahead and glue the smaller rectangle down onto the Misty Moonlight layer. I'm going to go ahead and attach this rectangle with the Designer Series paper onto the larger piece of the Designer Series paper as well. And then I have a piece of, this is the Bumblebee gingham ribbon right here, and I'm just going to kind of wrap it around. Let's see if I have some tape. I might not, so we're just going to make do. All right, so just kind of go around behind there. Just put a piece here, and just put a piece of my seal, my stamp seal. This is new. This is Stampin' Seal. It's new that Stampin' Up! Came out within this year's catalog, so I'm still new to using it. So far, I really like it. I like the way that it's got a little bit more, it's a little bit stronger than our snail was, which I do like that about it. So if you've used it before in the past, let me know what you think about it. If you have it already, you've been able to play with it. Okay, so let's get that. Okay. There we have it. We're just going to wrap it around like that. And then I'm going to place it onto my cardstock. And this is just cut at like 1/8 of an inch. So you don't have a lot of room left right here, but you do have just a small little, the Designer Series paper is cut just small enough to where you see the little white peeking through, which is pretty. Okay. And then let's go ahead and glue that circle on. Put that right over here. Okay, now the die cut that we use in the Just Jade, that is going to be glued up here on top. But first what I want to do, well, let's do that first now. We'll go ahead and do that now. That's just going to go on right here. Okay, and then I'm going to just adhere some of these little embellishments. These are the Flowers for Every Season gems. These are really pretty. These are, to me, especially the white, clear ones, they almost look like dew, like wet, like in the early morning on flowers, you still see a little bit of that dew going on. That's what it reminds me of. But I'm going to just add, with my liquid glue, like 3 little dots, a couple up here, one down here. And then just with some tweezers, take the clear, and you'll see what I mean. Aren't these pretty? I'll do a close-up of it too for you. Yep. And it's a good thing that glue dries clear, right? There's another one. And we'll get one more green one. And put it on. There we go. Okay. And you see those little dots right there. See that little gem? And then when the glue does dry, it does dry clear. It's really pretty. And that is the card for today for you. Again, if you want the measurements and the products used, feel free to head over to my blog. The link will be in the description below in the comments. So thanks everyone for watching, and have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye.